On the clearest of nights, when the winds of the Ethereum were calm and peaceful, the great merchant ships with their cargoes of Arcturian solar crystals felt safe and secure. Little did they suspect that they were pursued by pirates.
Yes, Treasure Planet. This was my jam growing up. I used to, like turn on the TV and get like an omelet or something and watch this stuff. This stuff was great. But since this is a school assignment and not just a rant about my favorite movie ever, let me just go ahead and get down to business. First and foremost, Treasure Planet is my favorite movie of all time. Not only do I relate to the characters on a deep, personal level, but the animation and storytelling is beautiful, especially for its time. In this video, I want to revisit Treasure Planet to delve deeper into what I believe to be the root psychological theme plaguing our protagonist, which is the same theme that many kids and teens in America struggle with today. Let's start by looking at the main storyline. Treasure Planet is a Disney animated film that follows a young boy, James Pleiades Hawkins, as he journeys across space on a life-changing journey of redemption and self-discovery. Our protagonist, James, was a happy child as evident by his opening scenes with his loving mother, who dreamed of sailing amongst the stars. He was fascinated with technology and pirates. However, this little boy's dreams came to a halt when his father walks out on him and his mother, unable to cope with the stress of being a husband and father. This event is the catalyst that changes James. After this event, James becomes distant from his mother. He begins to dress in dark clothing, get in trouble with the law, and much more. His general attitude is shifted towards depression and pessimism. His mother even states that she doesn't even recognize James anymore, which unfortunately James overhears. This phenomena that occurs within James is not unnatural. In fact, it occurs within many children abandoned by their guardians. That abandonment can take place in a variety of ways, including sexual abuse, abusive words, lack of supervision, and a lot more. James has experienced a quite literal abandon, as well as a distance from his mother, who has seemingly thrown herself into her work. She is seen in the movie desperately trying to run her business, practically single-handedly, all the while dealing with the stress of James getting into trouble. One of the symptoms of parental abandonment is a lack of self-worth and value. A feeling of blame can be cast on the child, as well as a general feeling of not being good enough. It doesn't help that James's feelings often lead to him seeking thrills and trouble to fill his void, which then leads to more disdain from his mother, which leads to more feelings of self-hate, and as a result, a loop is born. James is experiencing not only abandonment, but repeated abandonment by his mother, intentionally or not. Claudia Black talks about abandonment in Psychology Today. She says that repeated abandonment leads to something called toxic shame. She says that this shame arises from the painful message implied in abandonment: you are not important, you are not of value. And we see this arise out of James multiple times throughout the movie from, as I mentioned, his need for attention that comes in the form of negative attention. He beats himself up whenever he makes a mistake, and he is unable to see the value he has as he is constantly doing cool things but never able to realize it. It isn't until another disaster strikes that James is given the chance to prove to himself and his mother that he has potential and value. A ship crash lands near his mother's inn, and James assists the wounded alien inside. The alien warns James of the pirates in search of the treasure map he has. With his dying breath, he entrusts James with the map and warns him of a cyborg. Foreshadowing. Shortly thereafter, pirates attack the inn, and James, his mother, and their family friend Dr. Delbert Doppler escape, while the inn and everything his mother worked for burns to the ground behind them. This turn of events, while terrible, is what leads James to the solution for his psychological burden, and what many children today can take a not-so-literal example from. See, the rest of the movie follows James desperately trying to find the treasure from the map he was entrusted with, not only to prove himself worthy and capable of doing things right, but also to give back to his mother and the inn she lost. We see James in the beginning of his journey, still burdened by his feelings of self-hate and lack of parental guidance, struggle with recognizing the good he does. It isn't until James meets one of the most influential figures of his development that he begins to change. Aboard the ship James is on to search for the treasure, James meets Mr. Silver, a mysterious and intriguing cyborg that is the ship's acting cook. The very same cyborg that burned down the inn and is after the treasure James is looking for. Though neither character is aware of this at first. Like I said, foreshadowing. James is paired with Mr. Silver as his understudy of sorts, and through the process of teaching James the ropes, James and Mr. Silver begin to form a bond. James, whose father walked out on him and was in need of a father figure, found one in Silver, who taught him how to be a spacefaring crew member, his lifelong dream. Silver, a cold-blooded pirate with a lifetime of regrets, found a new beginning within James. He says throughout the movie how much potential James has and how he wants to see him grow and shine, maybe so as to not repeat the mistakes of a foolish old pirate that gave up even his body for the pursuit of greed. The time spent on the ship with Silver is what helps save James. He finally found a figure with which to help guide him and someone that recognizes his abilities and his own worth, thus helping him realize his own. As an added symbolism of this, remember when I said James was wearing dark clothing to symbolize his his predicament? Well, James begins wearing lighter clothes as a symbolism of his transformation. The eyeshadow that used to mask his face is no longer there. Instead, James is happy and confident, at least until another tragedy strikes in which James is framed for the accidental death of a crewmate. Well, at least supposed accidental, but we all know what happened. We saw what you did. It is in this situation that under any normal circumstance, James would dig deeper into his hate for himself, and he almost does. Even though he did right in this situation, someone made it out to look like he screwed up. We saw what you did. Which reaffirmed his belief that he is useless and he can't do anything right. But there is a new factor that helps this crisis be averted. Mr. Silver. While James is within the grasps of self-hate, Silver comes along to reassure James in one of the most touching and heartfelt scenes I've ever known.
Now, you listen to me, James Hawkins. You got the makings of greatness in you, but you gotta take the helm and chart your own course. Stick to it, no matter the squalls. And when the time comes, you get the chance to really test the cut of your sails and show what you're made of. Well, I hope I'm there, catching some of the light coming off you that day. It's all right.
Oh, jeez, man. Are you okay? You look kind of sad.
Yeah, man, I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
You sure you okay, man? I mean, I can.
I said I'm fine. Get out of my room.
Oh, jeez,
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Mr. Silver's presence alone is enough to pull James back. He's given the guidance he never got before. The guidance that although he made a mistake, that doesn't change all the good he has done and all he is capable of doing. And from this point on, James will never be the same. No matter what comes for James, he now knows, from the love of someone who cares for him, that he is worthwhile and fully capable. The final challenge and sign for growth for James comes from the truth being revealed about Silver and the search for the treasure. After playing with Morph, Silver's companion, James winds up in a barrel and overhears the conversation between Silver and his crew, who was masquerading as the ship's crew. Silver is called out for being soft for James, and in an effort to stay in control of the crew and save face, Silver tells the crew that he never cared for James and was in fact using him. Silver finds out that James overheard this and tries to kill him to keep his secret under wraps. James takes advantage and escapes to Treasure Planet with the captain, Dr. Doppler, and himself. In these final scenes, we see a new James. As the next bit of conflict unfolds, Silver and his pirate's pursuit, meeting a new character, finding out they have the wrong map and storming the pirate ship to get it back, and they're captured by Silver and his crew, James is different. Not only is he wearing lighter clothes to symbolize his transition, but he handles the situations with confidence and leadership. James takes charge of the situations and uses his abilities to get everyone through. This is the key difference represented by the psychological theme. James, like many kids in broken homes, was a puzzle missing pieces. It wasn't until the entrance of Silver, one of the best guardian figures he's had and the closest thing he's known to a father, that James recognizes his worth. How, you may ask? Well, like I've said before, when a parent walks out on a child and their family, this causes a reaction in children. Generally, this reaction is akin to fear and insecurity. Not only does the fragility of that parent's resolve to take care of the child and protect them cause insecurity in the child, but that parent's decision can lead to a confused child to blame the only thing they control, themselves. And that's exactly what James did. He was insecure and alone and afraid. He didn't have faith in himself or anybody and sought attention the only way he was confident in, his ability to make mistakes. When Silver came into his life, he offered a perspective that James didn't have, or at least one he hadn't known for quite some time. Silver, while tough and stern, believed in him. He didn't treat James like a child. When he made mistakes, he let him know, and when he did good, Silver was his biggest cheerleader. It also helped that James admired Silver. He was a rugged pirate with a lifetime of experience amongst the stars James dreamt so fondly of. In the end, Silver cared for him and helped him realize his worth. And that's why the betrayal of Silver, much like the betrayal of his father, doesn't hit like it used to. Of course it hurt. That was evident on James's face when he found out, but James now knows who he is and what he can do, and he's confident that he can do what he sets his mind to. The movie ends with James and the crew finding the treasure hidden on Treasure Planet and finding out it was booby-trapped. In a moment of his own character development, Silver gives up a boat filled with treasure to save the only real treasure Silver has ever known, James. After this, James, Silver, Captain Amelia, their new friend Phil or something, and Dr. Doppler work together to escape the exploding planet, which ends with James risking his own life and saving the entire crew. When everything calms and they have their sails set for home, James and Silver say their tearful goodbyes. Silver affirms the newfound beliefs that James has and gives him money to rebuild his mom's inn as they part ways. In another super touching, heartfelt scene that I love. In the end scene, James and his friends he made along the way are having a celebration in his mother's newly built inn. We see James's mother no longer ragged and tired, but beautiful, relieved, and at peace. James is dressed in the shiniest of suits and medals, symbolizing his entrance into the Navy and the worth he has found within himself. The cast shares a dance and some laughs as we fade into a clear view of the sky and an image of the pirate that helped change James's life for the better. At the end of the day, Treasure Planet is just an amazing movie. It's rich with messages and symbolism, not to mention beautiful animation you can't find anywhere else. I recommend this movie for anyone looking for a good ride, or for anyone out there who knows the pain of being abandoned by a parent or a loved one. This movie teaches us that though we are broken, or lost, or scared, we can find redemption within ourselves. The bonds of blood that were lost to us can be replaced with something far greater. And with this, we can learn to love ourselves. We can learn to have pride in our shortcomings, knowing that we are capable of things beyond imagination. We can have hope for our future, and know that even in the greatest vacuums of space, no matter how much it feels like it, no matter how grim the present looks, we are never alone.
It's good to see the sun and feel this place I never thought would feel like home.